Delegates, please take your seats. It's past 3 p.m. and we need to begin our afternoon session. Dear committee members, dear colleagues, with your permission, let's resume our session. I hope you had a pleasant lunch break. I would like to thank His Excellency, the Ambassador and Permanent Delegate of Kenya to UNESCO for his excellent conduct of the meeting of the session this morning as Vice Chairperson. We are now going to resume the examination of our agenda item 8B. But before we do that, I had received a request from the distinguished delegate of the United States of America to take the floor for a brief 2-minute period to make an announcement that is in conjunction with the 1970 convention related to the culture sector. You have the floor, Excellency. Can't hear you. 1 second. Can we hear her? Because other than in the translation, one cannot hear the United States.
Okay, can you hear me now? There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Earlier today, the United States and India signed a new bilateral cultural property agreement, which is the mechanism which the U.S. implements the 1970 UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export, and transfer of ownership of cultural property. With this important agreement with India, the United States has reached the milestone of having 30 bilateral agreements on culture. The United States is unwavering in its commitment to protect and preserve cultural heritage around the world and to prevent trafficking in cultural property. It is absolutely exciting for us to do this at the UNESCO World Heritage Committee meeting, and I want to take this opportunity to thank our distinguished chair for hosting us and for partnering with the United States. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. We are now going to resume the examination of our agenda item 8B. As indicated before, we adjourned for lunch. We will start the session this afternoon with the remaining speakers on the pending nomination of Srebrenica Cave, Ravno, Bosnia and Herzegovina. I will ask the Secretariat to read the list of speakers. Mr. Director, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon to all. I will read again the list of speakers, and I will read them in the order they are going to take the floor. So we will start by Kazakhstan, then Jamaica, then Italy, followed by Bulgaria, then Ukraine, then Saint Vincent and the Grenadines, then Republic of Korea, then India, and last, Zambia. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Kazakhstan, to be followed by Jamaica. Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We have carefully studied the nomination of Srebrenica Cave and strongly believe it has the outstanding universal value and fulfills the needed criteria to be inscribed in the World Heritage List as one of the world's important biodiversity hotspots for cave-dwelling fauna. It is noteworthy that the State Party of Bosnia and Herzegovina already handles Vetrinica not only as a national protected area, but also as a Natura 2000 site. The corresponding proposal for inclusion in the network is ready and waiting to be legally adopted. One of the concerns of the advisory body in the draft decision was the water quality and long-term inflow, and for this we have received additional guarantees of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Both state bodies responsible for water in the country guarantee there are no direct impacts on the water regime except the influence of the natural hydrological and hydrogeological regimes. The water quality is also substantiated by the physical-chemical analysis provided by the University of Sarajevo, which also conducts monitoring within its research programs. It should be noted that the site is also studied intensively molecularly. There is a range of microbiome studies of the bacterial composition of the cave, which is high-ended proof of the water quality, as no traces of bacterial indicators of water pollution were found in these studies. Instead, the new generation sequencing efforts have demonstrated very promising and interesting results, which are now being published. Distinguished committee members, we believe the State Party will maintain the outstanding universal value of this cave, and we ask for the support of the proposed amendments. I thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Jamaica, followed by Italy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jamaica commends the Bosnian Authority for bringing this site to our attention. Having proven criterion 10, the nominated property stands out with its remarkable cave biodiversity and endemicity. The Vetrinica Cave is one of the longest caves in the State Party, and its biodiversity is outstanding and includes some of the richest cave fauna of the world. We appreciate the work of the World Heritage Center and IUCN and note their recommendations, which include a confirmation of the exact and correct area of the nominated property and its buffer zone. There is also a requirement to confirm the protection status of the property and provide an updated assessment of its current threats. Having had extensive dialogue with the State Party's experts, Jamaica believes these matters have already been addressed with the implementation of new and existing systems. Further, the supplemental information provided by the State Party has responded to the queries and include a confirmation that the water quality and water flow in the cave system is not compromised. Jamaica also commends the State Party for all its efforts and for working in collaboration with the advisory body to address the concerns. Although this site was recommended for referral, we believe the State Party has adequately addressed issues raised and that it can be inscribed on the World Heritage List. This is why Jamaica supports the amended draft decision towards the inscription of this wonderful site and encourages the State Party to submit the required report to the World Heritage Center by December 1st, 2025 for its review by the IUCN. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Italy, followed by Bulgaria.
Mr. Chair, thank you. And since it's the first time I take the floor during this committee, let me congratulate for your knowledge and experience in the leadership of this session. Italy warmly congratulates Bosnia and Herzegovina for this extraordinary nomination. We fully support its inscription and we totally share the advisory body evaluation, in particular when IUCN acknowledges Vetrinica Cave as one of the world's most important biodiversity hotspots for cave-dwelling fauna, as well as when it is recognized that the integrity requirements of the operational guidelines are met. Concerning protection and management requirements, though the evaluation is not totally positive, the gap is easily bridgeable with the recommendations proposed in the amendment presented by Turkey, which we thank for its excellent work. Moreover, IUCN and several experts strongly emphasize that Vetrinica Cave may hold the potential to serve as a component part in a generic karst serial nomination transboundary extension nomination under Criterion 8. Such a possible future nomination, in addition to opening up a positive process of collaboration and partnership among different European countries, like Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Italy, Montenegro, Serbia, and Slovenia, could enrich the World Heritage List of natural sites with an important and extensive transnational property throughout Europe, increasing long-term conservation and management efforts for all the attributes of the exceptional geological phenomenon or karst. In this regard, Italy supports the decision as amended by Turkey with a suggestion of a minor modification which we will explain better during the discussion of the text. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Bulgaria, followed by Ukraine.
Thank you. Dear Mr. Chair, distinguished delegates, we carefully examined the nomination documents for Veternica Cave. With its 231 taxa, the cave is undoubtedly a biodiversity hotspot and is among the richest caves in the world in terms of fauna. Impressive are not only the total number of established species, but also the active speciation processes which led to the formation of high endemism and exceptional diversity even within a single genus, perhaps the highest recorded in the world. We therefore consider that the site meets criterion 10 and deserves to be inscribed on the World Heritage List. We've read the report of the advisory body and fully agree with their findings and recommendations. We also noted the IUCN finding that there are currently no significant threats to the karst cave system and its biodiversity. Weaknesses in the nomination documentation and in the current management of the site are important, but they do not significantly affect the conservation of the outstanding university value of the site. We believe that the inclusion of the property in the World Heritage List would play a very stimulating role for the state party to mobilize the necessary resources and fulfill the recommendations of IUCN for reliable conservation of the cave system and its biodiversity. Thus, we believe that the site should be inscribed on the World Heritage List and support the amendments submitted by Turkey and co-authored by Kazakhstan and Belgium. Thank you.
I thank you. Now I give the floor to Ukraine, to be followed by Samvinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We have carefully studied the nomination dossier Vetrinica Cave from the territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina and came to the conclusion that this is indeed a very important object that, in our opinion, definitely demonstrates an outstanding universal value. Therefore, Ukraine supports the proposal of Turkey and other states party to inscribe the Vetrinica Cave on the World Heritage List based on Criterion 10. Generic karst is a unique natural phenomenon which is characterized by a specific relief and numerous cave systems, including the deepest in the world. A huge underground ecosystem has been formed here, known first of all for its unique biodiversity, which is represented mainly by endemic troglobian species. However, we want to draw attention to another aspect. The Vetrinica Cave is only a small part of the generic karst, and its inscription in the World Heritage List can initiate the process of creating on its basis a powerful serial and transnational site, will property represent the entire region. This was the case with the World Heritage Site, ancient and primeval beech forest of Carpathian and other regions of Europe, to which I am directly related. It began with a relatively small Ukraine-Slovak property, primeval beech forest of Carpathian, and which has now turned into a huge pan-European site, including 93 component parts from the territory of 18 European countries. And this is not the end. Of course, in the case of the generic karst, it is hardly possible to achieve such a scale, but it is necessary to strive for it. So we wish good luck in this work. Thank you.
I give the floor now to the distinguished representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, followed by India.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. St. Vincent and the Grenadines believes that the Vjetrenica cave, Ravno in Bosnia and Herzegovina, is worthy of special attention given the uniqueness of this natural site, the exceptional biodiversity of cave-dwelling fauna and natural habitat for endemic species of gastropods and other creatures is well known to the world. We commend the fruitful dialogue between IUCN and the state parties, which led to clarification and explanations on some issues in the file. Consequently, St. Vincent and the Grenadines supports the amendments presented by Turkey, and we are looking forward to seeing an extension of such a site in the other countries in the region. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of India, to be followed by Zambia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The State Party of India would like to highlight that while terrestrial biodiversity, those above ground, is well identified and recognized, it's the richness and endemism of the less understood but fascinating subterranean fauna that the nominated party, namely the Vjetrenica caves in Bosnia and Herzegovina, preserves. That is particularly striking. Accordingly, global recognition to such values would be a significant contribution to the World Heritage domain. In addition, the nominated property demonstrates a long history of and improving layers of legal protection mechanisms. A wide range of local stakeholders appears to have been involved in the process of preparing the nomination for this property. Vjetrenica Cave also play an important role for the local identity. It is worthwhile to note that currently the nominated property is not facing any significant threats that may likely impact the natural values of the nominated property. Therefore, the State Party of India supports the nomination of the Vjetrenica caves in Bosnia-Herzegovina to be inscribed on the World Heritage List under Criteria 10. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll give the floor now to Zambia and thereafter give it to the Republic of Korea, whose name we had missed. Zambia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to appreciate your wise leadership during this session, including your Vice Chair. Mr. Chairman, I would like to also thank the advisory body, IUCN, for the good work being done on which they have done on this site. More than that, we would like to also appreciate the State Party of Bosnia for having identified this beautiful site. As a State Party of Zambia, would like to point out the fact that it is gratifying that much as the site did not meet the geodiversity criterion, but it also provides an opportunity for more research linking three thematic areas within the natural heritage, that is geodiversity, hydrological or hydrosphere, as well as biodiversity. So when you look at the three, if you start linking them, you will be able to see opportunities for more research, and especially that, the rich biodiversity found at this particular site, it is of global significance in that, it serves itself as, the richest biodiversity hotspot looking at the subterranean ecosystem. So for us, we believe, as a state part of Zambia, we believe this site is very important, and therefore, looking at the richness of species of subterranean nature, it already meets criterion 10, and beyond that, when it comes to issues of threats, these have been dealt with, and the aspects of the buffer zone having been dealt with, they give us that confidence that as a state part of Zambia, we should rally behind all those state parties that have supported the amendment by the state part of Turkey. I submit, Mr. Chairman.
But before you submit, can you please let me know about the wonderful dress that you are wearing today? Because I know the red dress which you are going to gift me, this new dress, is it some symbolic? I would love to hear about it.
Thank you, Chair. The dress you saw me with the other day, and the two dresses, those are representing the Western culture of Zambia. That is the Barotse floodplains or Western province. Then this attire you've seen me today with, this is representing the Ngoni or Zulu culture. I'm saying Zulu because the Ngonis came from South Africa, the KwaZulu-Natal, and they migrated all the way through Central Africa up to somewhere near East Africa and Tanzania and went back into Zambia. And they settled on the eastern part of Zambia. So this is the Ngoni traditional attire. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And after hearing that, I love Africa even more. Thank you. I now go to the Republic of Korea, to be followed by Japan.
Thank you for giving me the floor, Mr. Chair. The delegation of the Republic of Korea takes a special note that Srebrenica Cave has an international importance of supporting high diversity, biodiversity, and endemic species of cave-dwelling fauna. 78% of the stegofauna that are endemic to the Dinaric region is dependent on this nominated property. And this property is also highlighted as an exceptional example of a single genus diversity not to be seen in any other caves in the world. We believe these attributes inherent in this nominated property are enough to meet the criterion 10, and the necessary protection and management has been ensured by the state party. Therefore, we join the other committee members in supporting the inscription of the nominated property on the World Heritage List with the proposed amendment of the draft decision. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Japan.
Thank you, Chairperson. As other committee members stated, we believe nominated property merits inscription based on criterion 10. We had a conversation with State Party of Bosnia and Herzegovina and IUCN, and our concerns have been resolved. Therefore, we also support the proposed amendment to the inscription based on criterion 10. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now that the member states have finished, I would like to give the floor to the Observer State Party of Australia. Just 1 second. I see all the committee members have spoken. Any other committee member that would like to take the floor at this point in time? I see none. Yes, Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Comme les autres membres du comité, nous constatons avec beaucoup de plaisir que la faune tertiaire contenue dans cette grotte est un patrimoine universel exceptionnel. Et certaines espèces endémiques sont presque des espèces fossiles. Et en tant qu'archéologue, je suis très excité par cette faune-là. Donc je pense, comme les autres membres du comité, que ceci doit être inscrit.
Thank you.
So now that everyone has spoken,
I will ask. Yeah, there is no question asked by anyone, so ECOMOS, IUCN, there's no point. IUCN, you'd like to take the floor, okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for giving IUCN the floor. And we'd like to extend our thanks to all esteemed committee members for their comments. With your permission, I would like to highlight just 1 point also in relation to what the distinguished delegate of Italy has mentioned regarding the national or extension potential of the nominated area. So our evaluation report also points to the IUCN thematic study on the World Heritage Cave and Karst, which explores these options as well. There has also been in the past a pilot upstream process. So these are strands that could potentially be connected in that regard. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I have now seen that the committee member from the committee member Kenya has raised its plate. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. To save on your time and the committee's time, we would want to fully support the inscription of this very unique site, which has a very wide diversity of biodiversity and a very unique environment and unique combination. Thank you, Chair.
I see that there are no further comments. We shall now proceed. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46Com 8B.4. But before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Concernant l'inscription de la grotte de Vietrenica en Bosnie-Herzégovine, nous avons reçu 2 amendements. Le premier a été soumis par la Turquie, coécrit par le Kazakhstan et la Belgique, et vient d'être soutenu en salle par l'Argentine, la Jamaïque, l'Italie, la Bulgarie, l'Ukraine, Saint-Vincent et les Grenadines, l'Inde, la Zambie, la République de Corée, le Japon et le Kenya. J'espère que je n'ai oublié personne entre l'interruption de la session et maintenant. D'autre part, nous avons reçu un deuxième amendement mineur de la part de l'Italie, un petit peu avant l'interruption, qui n'a pas eu le temps d'avoir été circulé. Nous le présenterons rapidement. Et celui-ci a reçu le soutien de la Turquie et de la Belgique. Je commence avec le paragraphe 2 et le changement du référé à l'inscription. Inscrit la grotte de Vietrenica, Ravno, Bosnie-Herzégovine, sur la liste du patrimoine mondial sur la base du critère 10. Paragraphe 3 est, si vous le permettez, légèrement réécrit afin de correspondre aux standards et aux règles lorsque on passe d'un référé à une inscription pour donner « Prends note de la déclaration provisoire de valeur universelle exceptionnelle suivante ». Et le texte de la déclaration de valeur universelle est disponible en langue anglaise. Paragraphe 4 se félicite de la pleine acceptation des recommandations de l'UICN par l'État partie afin de garantir des ressources supplémentaires pour renforcer les capacités de l'institution publique Vietrenica, comme l'a souligné l'UICN. 5. Se félicite de la confirmation par l'État partie qu'une qualité et un afflux de l'eau suffisants dans le réseau de grottes de Vietrenica sont garantis à long terme. 6. Recommande que l'État partie prenne en considération les points suivants. A. Améliorer davantage la cohérence de la cartographie et du zonage du paysage protégé de Vietrenica, Popovo-Polje, en particulier dans le cadre du nouveau plan d'aménagement de la municipalité de Ravno qui est en cours d'élaboration. B. S'assurer que la gestion hydrologique, y compris la qualité et l'afflux de l'eau dans le bien, est suffisamment suivie. J'attire l'attention du Président sur le fait que sur ce paragraphe qui contient les recommandations à l'État partie, c'est sur ce paragraphe que l'Italie aurait un second amendement à porter à la connaissance du reste du comité. Enfin, dernier paragraphe, 7, demande à l'État partie de soumettre au Centre du patrimoine mondial, avant le 1er décembre 2025, un rapport sur la mise en œuvre des recommandations susmentionnées pour examen par l'UICN. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. We have received excuse me, a request from Italy to be followed by Argentina. We have received the request from Italy. The mic of Italy is not working. Can you please help? Technical team, we need you here.
Italy.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair. As I mentioned in my introductory remarks, and as it has been also highlighted again by the IUCN, and which I thank again, in the spirit of the convention, it's important to keep always the door open for a possible, potential future transnational, transboundary serial nomination site. I think this promotes international collaboration, and this is one of the real added value of UNESCO in the world. In this spirit, we would like to make reference to the original Para 3A. So if we can go back to the, yes, recommends the state party to explore to what extent it could be possible to envisage in future a potential serial transnational extension to enable a complete representation of the dynamic caste, including in relation to criteria 8 and 10. So this para can be perfectly put as the rapporteur suggested in the new para 6. And this is just to respect a potential for the future of this very outstanding nomination. Thank you.
Thank you. We give the floor to Argentina to be followed by Qatar.
Gracias, señor presidente. En nuestra primera intervención creímos haber manifestado claramente nuestro apoyo a esta inscripción, que sabemos que va a ser adoptada. Queremos estar en la lista de co-sponsors y sumarnos también al proyecto de enmiendas presentado en este momento por Italia. Consideramos que es sumamente importante esta posibilidad. Nuestro país tiene mucha experiencia en este tipo de inscripciones multinacionales o seriadas y nos parece muy importante que se deje la puerta abierta para que en el futuro nos aboquemos mucho más a este tipo de posibilidades. Gracias.
Thank you. We now give the floor to Qatar.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Malgré notre intervention avant la pause de déjeuner, on a bien soutenu la proposition de la Turquie. C'est la raison pourquoi nous voulons ajouter le Qatar parmi les États qui soutiennent la proposition de Turquie. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. Greece, you have the floor.
Ça y est maintenant. Même chose, Monsieur le Président, comme Argentine et Qatar. On voudrait voir notre accord dans le texte. Merci.
Thank you. I see that Senegal and Ukraine have also raised their plate. So first, the distinguished representative of Senegal, to be followed by Ukraine.
Monsieur le Président, c'est juste pour rappeler que nous avons aussi soutenu la proposition.
Thank you. Ukraine, you have the floor.
Merci. Nous voudrions que notre nom soit inscrit dans le maintenant. Merci.
I guess Italy also wants to have its name added. Please add the name of Italy, Mr. Rapporteur. Thank you. Yes, St. Vincent, India, Bulgaria. Yes, Rapporteur, please read them.
Je propose de les lire et sachez qu'ils seront bien rajoutés pour gagner du temps si vous le permettez. Donc Turquie, Kazakhstan, Belgique avant la présentation. Ensuite Argentine, Jamaïque, Italie, Bulgarie, Ukraine, Saint-Vincent, Inde, Zambie, République de Corée, Japon, Kenya, Qatar, Grèce, Sénégal. Merci.
Thank you. Have all the names been added? I see no request for intervention. We shall now go para by para. Let's go to para 1. I see no objections. Para 2. How it appears on the screen. Scroll down. I see no objections. Para 3. And the same lists of names, please copy paste. The statement of outstanding universal value, go down. I see no request for any interventions. Para 4 and 5. Para 6. Including its subsections, para 7. Okay, no one has raised any plate for any interventions. We'll go right at the top before we adopt this para as a whole. Is there any objection or comment? I see none. I therefore declare draft decision 46-8B.4 adopted as amended. Thank you very much. Let me congratulate Bosnia and Herzegovina on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property on the World Heritage List. As a mark of respect for the Bosnian culture, I will permit me to say a statement in the Bosnian language, and please forgive me if my pronunciation in Bosnian is not very good. Čestitam vam na upisu. Bosnia and Herzegovina, you have the floor for a brief two-minute statement. Thank you. Or 4 minutes. Thank you.
Dear Chairman, dear committee members, on behalf of the delegation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, I would like to thank you for the inscription of Jatrenica Cave on the UNESCO World Heritage List. The inscription of Jatrenica Cave on the World Heritage List is very important for us. This is a great day for us, for our country, especially for the people of the small municipality of Ravno and all the people involved in the management and protection of the Jatrenica Cave. We are confident that the inscription of Jatrenica Cave on the World Heritage List adds additional value to the world's natural heritage alongside other sites already on the list. I express our full commitment to protect and manage the Jatrenica Cave in accordance with the committee's decision and UNESCO guidelines. I take this opportunity to congratulate our host, the Government of India, for great organization of this event and extraordinary hospitality. Also, I take this opportunity to invite you to visit Bosnia and Herzegovina and Vjetrenica Cave. Thank you once again.
Thank you. We go to the next item. I now invite ICOMOS and IUCN to present the mixed nomination of Tehenwa Enata, the Marquesa Islands, France. But before I give the floor I will give the floor to the Secretariat. Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Nous avons reçu une notification d'erreur factuelle concernant l'évaluation du dossier Tehenwa Enata, les îles Marquises. Et ceci se trouve à la page 8 du document INF 8B4 de la version française et version anglaise. Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Balsamo. ICOMOS and IUCN, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. L'évaluation de l'UCN se trouve aux pages indiquées sur la diapositive. L'UCN recommande au comité d'inscrire Tehenwa Enata, les îles Marquises, sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. Prochain diapo, please. Le site est proposé comme bien mixte au regard des critères naturels 7, 9 et 10, associés aux critères culturels 3, 4 et 6. Concernant le critère 7, le bien est marqué par des crêtes acérées, des pylons et des falaises impressionnantes qui s'élèvent de manière abrupte à plus de 1000 mètres au-dessus de l'océan. La partie marine accueille un spectacle de la vie sauvage exceptionnelle. Au sujet du critère 9, le bien abrite un endémisme exceptionnel et possède des biomasses de poissons les plus élevées au monde. Les eaux marquiniennes sont reconnues comme l'une des aires marines sauvages les plus importantes de la planète. Prochaine diapo, please. Concernant le critère 10, le bien dispose d'une biodiversité terrestre et marine composée de 40 espèces marines emblématiques, 26 espèces de raies et requins, 16 espèces de mammifères marins et une tortue marine reconnue comme espèce menacée selon la liste rouge de l'UCN. Également, plus de 40 espèces de poissons retrouvées dans ce bien sont endémiques de l'écorégion. Prochaine diapo. Au sujet de l'intégrité, le bien garantit une continuité des sommets à la mer. Les limites des éléments terrestres sont basées sur les caractéristiques paysagères les plus importantes et les plus intactes, satisfaisant aux critères naturels et culturels. En ce qui concerne la gestion, le bien dispose d'un plan de gestion à long terme couvrant la période 2024-2039, basé sur la conservation de sa valeur universelle exceptionnelle. Toutefois, Monsieur le Président, il est important que le nouveau plan général d'aménagement intègre pleinement les limites et les zones tampons du bien proposé. En termes de protection, l'UCN considère que le bien remplit également les obligations sur le plan juridique et réglementaire. En conclusion, Monsieur le Président, l'UCN recommande au comité d'inscrire le bien Tehenwa Enata, les îles Marquises, sur la liste du patrimoine mondial au titre des critères naturels 7, 9 et 10. Avec votre permission, Monsieur le Président, l'ICOMOS va compléter cette présentation avec les critères culturels. Je vous remercie.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le rapport d'évaluation de l'ICOMOS se trouve dans le document INF 8B1 à la page 279 de la version anglaise et à la page 306 de la version française. l'ICOMOS a reçu une lettre d'erreur factuelle et a accepté certaines de ces erreurs. Contraints par la topographie des îles, les Zenata, êtres humains en marquisien, se sont installés dans les vallées profondes et encassées du haut de Crète jusqu'à la côte, où ils ont construit des plateformes lithiques à 2 niveaux, pas épais, avec fonction résidentielle. La plupart des sites archéologiques inclus dans le bien proposé pour inscription sont des structures monumentales en pierre sèche, certains très imposants et d'autres comprenant des pétroglyphes et ou des statues en pierre taillée, tiki. Le périmètre bien proposé pour inscription comprend 8 vallées. 3 sont situées dans l'île de Nukuhiva. L'île de Wapu comprend 2 vallées jumelles et des autres vallées sont situées sur l'île de Ivawa. La dernière des vallées identifiées est située sur l'île de Fatuiva. Les lignes de crête étaient constamment surveillées pour prévenir toute invasion ennemie, ce qui conduisit à la construction de fortifications, pas des postes de guet ou d'espaces de stockage de nourriture, Wama. Les cours d'eau principaux définissaient l'axe vital depuis le fond de la vallée, Vao, jusqu'à la mer, Tai, et contribuaient à structurer le schéma de peuplement en 3 zones fonctionnelles, le littoral et la basse vallée, le centre de la vallée et le fond de la vallée. Le bien proposé constitue un témoignage exceptionnel sur l'occupation territoriale de l'archipel des Marquises par les Zenata entre le Xe et le XIXe siècle, sur leur adaptation à un environnement naturel difficile et à la disponibilité limitée des matériaux de construction, sur leur schéma de peuplement dans des vallées, ainsi que sur leur organisation sociale et spirituelle en chefferie. L'ICOMOS considère que l'analyse comparative explique clairement la sélection des éléments constitutifs. Également, l'analyse comparative démontre que le bien proposé pour inscription se distingue au regard de l'ère géoculturelle, la Polynésie, en tant que témoignage exceptionnel du mode de vie et des traditions de construction des Zenata, de leur interaction avec l'environnement et de leur occupation territoriale des îles Marquises. L'ICOMOS considère que le critère 3 est pleinement justifié, mais les critères 4 et 6 ne sont pas justifiés. Certains des arguments présentés pour justifier les critères 4 et 6 soutiennent plutôt la justification du critère 3. L'ICOMOS considère que les conditions d'intégrité et d'authenticité de l'ensemble de la série et de chaque élément constitutif sont remplies. Dans leur ensemble, les éléments constitutifs offrent une représentation complète du mode de vie des Zenata et des liens sociaux, spatiaux et fonctionnels associés à leur occupation territoriale des îles Marquises. La transmission orale des récits, mythes et légendes, conjuguée aux écrits des premiers visiteurs et aux travaux ethnographiques, a permis de conserver des connaissances importantes sur l'histoire et les significations sociales de ce lieu. Le taux de conservation du bien proposé pour l'inscription est satisfaisant et les limites du bien proposé pour inscription et des zones tampons sont appropriées en tant que bien mixte. L'ensemble des principaux sites archéologiques situés au sein du bien proposé pour inscription doivent être inventoriés au plus court délai et désignés au titre du Code du patrimoine, et les restrictions légales et ou coutumières complémentaires posées à l'utilisation et à l'aménagement dans les zones tampons doivent être renforcées. Le plan général d'aménagement est une priorité et doit être achevé d'ici à 2025, comme l'envisage l'État partie. Les systèmes de gestion et en matière de gouvernance doivent aussi être renforcés. La mise en œuvre du plan de gestion devra être soutenue par l'élaboration de plans de travail pour être efficace, ainsi que par des évaluations à mi-parcours. De manière générale, les systèmes de gestion pour le bien proposé pour inscription doivent intégrer les patrimoines culturels et naturels pour une gestion efficace en tant que bien mixte. Voici un résumé de l'évaluation de l'ICOMOS de la valeur universelle exceptionnelle proposée pour le bien proposé pour inscription. En conclusion, l'ICOMOS recommande que le bien Enata, les îles Marquises, France, soit inscrit sur la liste patrimoine mondial sur la base de critères 3 et des critères naturels et a inclus un certain nombre de recommandations supplémentaires dans le projet de décision pour soutenir la conservation à long terme. Merci pour votre attention.
Thank you. for your presentations. I would like to know whether there are any comments concerning this nomination. Lebanon, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ce bien a été proposé pour inscription sur la base des critères culturels 3, 4, 6 et des critères naturels 7, 9 et 10. L'UICN considère que les critères naturels 7, 9 et 10 sont justifiés, alors que l'ICOMOS retient uniquement le critère 3. Tout en félicitant l'ICOMOS pour la qualité de son évaluation, nous considérons que la proposition d'écarter le critère 6 ne nous paraît pas justifiée. En effet, afin de justifier sa proposition d'écarter ce critère, l'ICOMOS note que le mode de vie des Enata, qui a subsisté du Xe au XIXe siècle, n'existe pratiquement plus aujourd'hui, que les zones bâties incluses dans le bien ne sont plus utilisées comme lieu de vie et ne sont pas non plus associées à des pratiques actuelles. L'ICOMOS reconnaît toutefois que de nombreux récits, mythes, légendes liés à des paysages réels ou cosmologiques sont encore très présents aujourd'hui, et que l'esprit et l'impression du lieu où se situent les vestiges archéologiques et leur représentation des activités ancestrales sont encore très fortement perçus par les marquisiens d'aujourd'hui. Je cite, de nombreux biens sur la liste ont été inscrits sur la base du critère 6, alors même qu'ils ne sont plus directement associés à des critères actuels. Les orientations indiquent que le bien doit être directement ou matériellement associé à des événements ou des traditions vivantes, mais également à des idées ou à des croyances. Tout en reconnaissant la quasi-disparition des Enata et le fait que le choc démographique ainsi que l'acculturation contemporaine au contact européen ait pu s'opposer à la transmission de certains savoirs anciens auprès des habitants des îles Marquises, il n'en reste pas moins que, pour les communautés locales vivant dans l'un des archipels les plus isolés du monde, les principaux attributs du bien ne peuvent pas être perçus comme de simples objets archéologiques ayant un pur intérêt scientifique, car ils témoignent du rapport avec leurs ancêtres, le rapport de leurs ancêtres avec l'environnement naturel, roches, plantes, animaux terrestres et marins, et se rattachent à des systèmes de croyances liés aux origines du monde. La reconnaissance par l'UNESCO de la dimension spirituelle et des valeurs immatérielles rattachées au bien constituerait pour les populations marquisiennes une valorisation de leur identité et de leur histoire et contribuerait de ce fait à la sauvegarde durable du bien. Nous avons donc proposé d'ajouter le critère 6 au critère 3 reconnu par l'ICOMOS. Merci.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Belgium, followed by Argentina.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Belgique souscrit à tout ce que vient de dire notre collègue honorable du Liban. Nous n'aurions pas pu le dire mieux. Donc nous proposons également d'inscrire cette proposition sur la base du critère 6. Car la Belgique se réjouit pleinement de l'inscription sur la liste du patrimoine mondial de Tehenoua et Nata, les îles Marquises, et remercie la France et la population des Marquises pour l'engagement dans la préservation de cet ensemble unique et original de paysages naturels et culturels, de patrimoine matériel, immatériel et spirituel. Les caractéristiques culturelles des îles et des modes de vie qui sont associés définissent l'identité insulaire de ce territoire. Comment parler aussi des Marquises sans penser à Gauguin, à ses personnages, ses couleurs, son amour pour les îles? Mais la Belgique a aussi un lien personnel à ce nouveau bien du patrimoine mondial, car Jacques Brel, un des plus grands chanteurs belges, a choisi d'y couler ces dernières années et participé avec son avion à faciliter la vie quotidienne de certains villages isolés. Brel a d'ailleurs consacré l'une de ses dernières chansons aux Marquises et à la tendresse qu'il leur portait. La pluie est traversière, elle bat de grain en grain, quelques vieux chevaux blancs qui fredonnent Gauguin. Et par manque de brise, le temps s'immobilise aux Marquises. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. It would have been even better had you sung it. I now give the floor to Argentina.
Gracias, señor presidente. ¿Qué se puede decir después de la intervención de nuestro querido amigo y colega del Líbano y las bellísimas palabras dichas por nuestros vecinos de Bélgica. Este sitio no solamente es un sitio natural, sino que reúne, como bien fue dicho recién, grandes valores de la cultura universal. Queremos sumarnos a todos los argumentos expresados y apoyar firmemente esta inscripción. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. St. Vincent and the Grenadines thanks ICOMOS for its presentation and for the positive evaluation for the inscription of Te Enua Enata, the Marquesas Islands. We thank also Lebanon for the analysis of the site, and we cannot say more than Belgium say very eloquently. Therefore, St. Vincent and the Grenadines supports the amendments presented by Lebanon for the inscription of the Marquesas Island, sister islands. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Mexico.
Muchas gracias. Pues también la delegación mexicana está muy complacida de esta inscripción, sobre todo porque nosotros también tenemos 2 sitios mixtos y sabemos las dificultades y los retos que esto representa, y también porque este es una forma integral. Pues nosotros desde la parte biológica y cultural vemos que se avanza ante la meta 30-30, el ver todo cómo ha pasado el tiempo, cómo se mantiene la presentación que hizo UICN e ICOMOS, pues va a ser también un sitio referente ahora que estamos ante los embates del cambio climático, y va a ser este laboratorio vivo. Así que estamos muy contentos, vamos a estar siguiendo de cerca, pues sobre todo porque se ve desde la integridad de un manejo de cuencas, también de una forma cultural. Gracias y felicidades.
Thank you. Now that the committee members have taken the floor, there are no further questions that are pending. So I will go to the rapporteur. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46Com 8B.8, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Tel qu'annoncé par la délégation du Liban, nous avons reçu un amendement du Liban proposant l'ajout du critère 6, soutenu en salle par la Belgique, Saint-Vincent et les Grenadines et le Mexique. J'ai noté également le soutien de l'Argentine à l'inscription, mais je rajoute également l'Argentine à l'ajout du critère 6. Ce qui entraîne un changement du paragraphe 3, puisque lorsque on ajoute un critère et il y a un changement de forme pour la déclaration de valeur universelle, prend note de la déclaration de valeur universelle exceptionnelle provisoire suivante. Et la déclaration figure en langue française, avec dans la déclaration de valeur universelle l'ajout du critère 6 selon l'amendement du Liban. Malgré le choc démographique et l'acculturation au contact européen, et malgré la quasi-disparition des Enata, de nombreux récits, mythes et légendes liés à des paysages réels ou cosmologiques sont encore présents aujourd'hui. Combinés au savoir transmis de génération en génération, ils rendent compte du lien spirituel qui unit les populations marquisiennes à leur environnement. Pour le reste, Monsieur le Président, il s'agit d'erreurs factuelles qui ont été préalablement intégrées au texte. C'est tout concernant le site de Te Enua Enata, les îles Marquises en France. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. We'll go para by para. Are there any objections to para 1? Qatar, you have the floor. You would like to add your name as well?
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Oui, je veux ajouter le nom de Qatar
aux États membres.
Okay,
Merci.
thank you. I'll give the rapporteur the floor to kindly read out the names of the member states, and as they raise their plates, you may add their names as well.
Monsieur le Président, je vois des pays qui ont levé leur plaque. Je considère donc que je les cite parmi la liste des autres pays qui ont préalablement soutenu. Ce qui donne donc, pour l'amendement du Liban, soutien par, et même co-auteur, Saint-Vincent, Belgique, Mexique, Qatar, Argentine, Vietnam, Bulgarie, Japon, Inde. Je pense que c'est Ukraine. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you.
Merci.
Thank you. Are there any objections to para 2, how it appears on the screen? I see none. We go to para 3. Scroll down the entirety of it. Yes, just we can copy paste the names. You can scroll down. Go to para 4. Are there any objections? I didn't see any objections to para 3. And are there any objections to para 2? And its sub-paras. Please scroll down. Para 5, para 6. I don't see any objections to para 4, 5, and 6. Now we go to adopt the entire decision as a whole. Is there any objection in adopting the decision as a whole? I see none. I therefore declare draft decision 46Com 8B.8 adopted as amended. Thank you very much. Let me congratulate France on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property, and I will speak one sentence in the beautiful French language. Je vous félicite pour votre inscription. France, you have the floor for a 4-minute statement. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président, prenant la parole pour la première fois, je voudrais tout d'abord remercier et féliciter le gouvernement de la République d'Inde et votre présidence pour la remarquable organisation de ce comité. Je remercie également les experts et de l'ICOMOS et de l'UICN pour leur travail exceptionnel. Monsieur le Président, je souhaite exprimer la grande satisfaction, les remerciements et la fierté de la France de voir les îles Marquises inscrites sur la liste du patrimoine mondial de l'UNESCO, une fierté d'autant plus grande qu'il s'agit de la très rare inscription d'un bien mixte. La France accordant une très grande importance à l'expression des peuples qui portent et incarnent cette candidature, j'ai maintenant l'honneur de donner la parole au ministre du gouvernement de la Polynésie française, dont les îles Marquises font partie. Je vous remercie.
Monsieur le Président, Mesdames et Messieurs les membres du Comité du patrimoine mondial, Excellences, chers collègues, Yaurana Kaohanui, au nom de la Polynésie française, Maoinui, dont l'archipel des Marquises fait partie, j'ai l'honneur de m'exprimer afin de soutenir la candidature de Tehenua et Nata, les îles Marquises. Plus qu'un soutien, c'est le rayonnement mondial de la terre des hommes et de notre pays dont il est question. Ces îles sont un trésor inestimable de notre planète, composé de paysages naturels d'une rare magnificence et de traditions culturelles bien vivantes. Il est le témoignage vibrant de l'harmonie ancestrale entre l'homme et la nature. Nous sommes le peuple issu de Temuananui Hiva et notre relation à la mer et à la terre est au cœur de notre identité. Selon la perception océanienne du monde, chaque élément de la nature est sacré et interconnecté. Les esprits de nos ancêtres continuent à nous guider et à protéger notre environnement. Ce bien exceptionnel sera reconnu internationalement et cela renforcera les efforts de protection et de valorisation des communautés locales et territoriales. Nous avons la conviction que cette inscription contribuera à préserver et respecter ce joyau pour l'humanité dans le cadre du plan de gestion où nos frères et sœurs marquisiens joueront un rôle primordial. Leur implication directe et active sera la clé pour assurer la protection et la valorisation de leur patrimoine foncier et culturel, reflet de leur identité et de leur héritage. Je vous remercie tous de votre attention et de votre soutien à cette candidature unique. Maururu, Koutaunui, Vai Einui, merci, gracias a todos, thank you.
I now invite IUCN to present the nomination of the flow country. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. But before I give the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. We received a fatal error notification concerning the evaluation of the nomination of the flow country. And this is to be found on page 6 of both the English and French version of document INF 8B4. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. IUCN's evaluation can be found on the pages indicated on the slide. IUCN recommends the committee to inscribe the flow country on the World Heritage List under Criterion 9. The nominated property hosts an extensive expanse of blanket bogs in northern Scotland. A blanket bog is an area of peatland in which high rainfall and low evapotranspiration allow peat to develop over large expanses, playing an important role for carbon sequestration. Across 7 component parts, the nominated property totals an area of more than 180,000 hectares. Under Criterion 9, the flow country is considered the most extensive and diverse example of an actively accumulating blanket bog landscape found globally. A diverse mosaic of mire and vegetation types with their associated species assemblages have evolved in large parts undisturbed. The flow country is a type reference for a rare and threatened ecosystem not yet appropriately represented on the World Heritage List. Peatland stores more carbon per surface area than any other carbon sink on land. The nominated property's ongoing ecological processes sequestering carbon on a large scale are therefore of even greater significance in light of climate change. The role of the nominated property as a nature-based solution to climate change is hence very important. IUCN considers that the flow country demonstrates global significance under Criterion 9 due to its large extent, its nearly undisturbed nature, and its biodiversity assembly with specific communities composed of Atlantic, boreal, and Arctic taxa. The nomination is exemplary in articulating the attributes of outstanding universal value. However, while the nominated property supports unique species assemblages, it does not show exceptional global biodiversity in regard to criterion 10, under which the flow country has also been nominated. Nevertheless, the species assemblages contribute to the integrity under criterion 9 as indispensable element of the blanket bog's wider ecosystem and ecological processes. The nominated areas therefore meet the condition of integrity. Areas not contributing to the proposed outstanding universal value or vulnerable to development pressures were excluded, resulting in the serial approach. The serial approach has also been informed by comprehensive stakeholder consultation. Regarding the protection and management of the nominated property, IUCN notes that the area of the nominated property parts, nominated component parts, is legally protected through the Scottish planning system and through environmental designations such as special areas of conservation and special protection areas. A management plan has been prepared and the Flow Country Partnership will oversee coordination if the property is inscribed. Monitoring has been in place since the 1970s and can be extended to the entire area. Climate change poses the most significant threat due to the drying out of bogs as a consequence of rising temperatures. And local threats include land use changes, wildfires, and wind farm development. However, existing policies, including the aforementioned, aim to mitigate these threats. IUCN concludes that overall, the nominated property benefits from a robust protection and management system. Mr. Chair, the draft decision can be found in document 8B, as shown on the slide, and contains IUCN's recommendation to inscribe the Flow country on the World Heritage List under criterion 9. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I would like to know whether there are any comments concerning this nomination. I see none. Let's proceed then. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46-8B.5, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed.
Nous n'avons pas reçu d'amendement concernant le Flow Country, Monsieur le Président.
Can I have the draft decision on screen? Okay. Are there any comments? In adopting this draft decision as a whole? I see none. I therefore declare draft decision 46-8B.5 adopted. Thank you very much. Let me congratulate the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland on behalf of the entire community for the inscription of this property on the World Heritage List. The UK, you have the floor for a 4-minute statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished members of the committee, on behalf of the people of the Flow country in Scotland and the UK, I am honoured by your decision today to inscribe the Flow country as a World Heritage Site. I would like to thank the committee, the Secretariat, IUCN, and our gracious hosts for their generous hospitality and welcome to New Delhi. The idea to nominate the Flow country as a World Heritage Site was first voiced in the 1980s, when conservationists began to recognise the significance of the blanket bog as a pristine and diverse natural habitat which has been looked after carefully by many generations of farmers and crofters. It has since, of course, been recognised also for its huge value as a carbon store and significant nature-based solution in our global battle against human-induced climate change. The blanket bog stores more than 400 million tonnes of carbon, which is more than double the UK's entire forest carbon store. The decision today is a culmination of many years of work, both from the project team, some of whom have been involved for many years, but also those forward-thinking scientists who saw the immense value of this landscape over 40 years ago. Inscription on the World Heritage List recognises the Flow Country as the best example of a blanket bog ecosystem anywhere in the world. We are particularly proud that this is the first World Heritage Site inscribed purely for its qualities as a peatland ecosystem. For a habitat type which has been historically globally undervalued, the decision by the committee is testament to improved understanding of peatland ecosystems. We hope this inscription will shine a spotlight on the importance of the world's peatlands, many of which are under threat, and in particular their role in the fight against climate change. And finally, I want to thank the communities of the North Highlands for their stewardship of this area. The Flow Country covers nearly 2,000 square kilometres in one of the most remote parts of the UK, an area facing social, economic and environmental challenges. Inscription of this site will help protect and enhance this 9,000-year-old blanket bog for future generations and provide new and exciting opportunities for our rural communities. We look forward to continuing the work with the international community to protect and promote the values of World Heritage in the Flow Country and beyond. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I now invite IUCN to present the nomination of Nassau Maranhenses National Park, Brazil. IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. IUCN's evaluation can be found on the pages indicated on the slide. IUCN recommends the committee to inscribe Lençóis Maranhenses National Park on the World Heritage List under criteria 7 and 8. Next slide, please. The nominated property is found in northeastern Brazil on the east coast of Maranhão, covering about 156,000 hectares. As shown on the map, the property is surrounded by a buffer zone with an area of 268,000 hectares. About 90,000 hectares within the nominated area are composed of an extensive white coastal dune field with precipitation-fed lagoons. The dune fields, interspersed with temporary and permanent lagoons, create an unparalleled environment of exceptional beauty, which is proposed to be recognized under Criterion 7. The landscape resembles a desert, but holds high volumes of water as rainfall during the first half of the year forms lagoons of various shapes, sizes, and depths. Long winding chains of Barcan dunes stretch up to 75 kilometers and extend over 20 kilometers inland and are complemented by temporary green-blue lakes in the rainy season, coastal broadleaf forests, beaches, tropical rivers, and mangrove ecosystems, resulting in a diverse and breathtaking landscape of striking contrast. Whilst large sand dune systems exist elsewhere, the setting in tropical climatic conditions of a complex dune field with a lacustrine and coastal environment distinguishes the nominated property. Regarding Criterion 8, IUCN notes that the nominated property is shaped by sediments which, under the influence of wind, form a vast expanse of both stable and shifting dunes, recognized as the largest in South America. With no inlet or outlet, the lagoons within the nominated area are solely replenished by rainwater. Expert reviewers highlighted the nominated property as a spectacular quaternary geology site with global significance that support the understanding of the past few millennia of geo-environmental change. Next slide, please. Another slide, please. In terms of protection and management, IUCN notes that the entire nominated property is protected as a national park since 1981, which has a management regime that has seen continued improvement. Further efforts to strengthen the monitoring, enforcement, and governance would be needed to respond to future increase in tourism. IUCN also recommends strengthening the protection and management regime for the marine part of the buffer zone to ensure any potential threats from offshore and from tourism can be effectively addressed in future. Overall, the nominated property benefits from a strong and multi-layered protection regime that goes beyond the nominated property itself and beyond the areas where the main attributes of the proposed OUV are found. The boundaries of the nominated property thus comprise all necessary elements representing the proposed OUV. The inclusion of some non-dune ecosystems enables representation of the interplay between rivers, coasts, mangroves, and caatinga forests, which are part of the processes constituting the proposed OUV. IUCN therefore considers that the integrity requirements are met. Mr. Chair, the draft decision can be found in document 8B as shown on the slide and contains IUCN's recommendation to inscribe Lençóis Maranhenses National Park on the World Heritage List under natural criteria 7 and 8. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I would like to know whether there are any comments concerning this nomination. I see none. Let's proceed then. I would now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46-8B.6, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous n'avons pas reçu d'amendement sur le projet de décision pour l'inscription du parc national de Lençóis Maranhenses, Brésil. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Are there any comments? I see none. I therefore declare draft decision 46-8B.6 adopted. Thank you very much. Let me congratulate Brazil on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property on the World Heritage List, and let me congratulate them in their own language. Parabéns pela sua inscrição. Brazil, you have the floor for 4.5 minutes now. For a 4-minute statement, thank you.
Deu 4 minutos e meio.
Pode falar?
4 minutos e meio para nós.
Ok. Entendeu? Tem que ligar. Agora. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for Lençóis Maranhenses, now patrimônio natural da humanidade. Viva o Lençóis Maranhense! Thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of Brazil, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to the committee members, the IUCN Express of Staff, and the Secretary of 1972 Convention for the invaluable contribution to this moment. The success of the Lençóis Maranhenses nomination is the testament to extraordinary work of the Brazilian Ministry and invaluable staff, supported by the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs and Brazil and Maranhão State Government, which I have the honor of leading. This inscription strengthens on Renault commitment to environmental protection and the sustainable and development. The Lençóis Maranhenses National Park boasts a unique combination of the sand, dunes, free walk, free water, lagoons, social security, and wanted geology and biological diversity. By one use visual splendor, Lençóis Maranhenses is a thriving ecosystem supporting a diverse ranging species, some endemic to the region. Local community have life and woman within this environment for generations. The inscriptions of the Lençóis Maranhenses as UNESCO World Heritage Site will have a significant impact on the tourism and the local economy, sustainably developing, fostering high quality of the life to local the community will be encouraging. The inhabitants have a vital role stage of this natural wonder. The inscription of the Lençóis Maranhenses on the UNESCO World Heritage List is in moment step towards preserve this unique landscape. Let us celebrate and work together to protect and cherish Lençóis Maranhenses for generations to come. Thank you very much.
Obrigado. I now invite ICOMOS.
So, can I?
Well, sure.
Okay. At this moment of the great joy for the inscriptions of Lençóis Maranhenses National Park on the World Heritage List, I would like to thank everyone who was involved in this process of preparation this nomination. Federal and local governments, local community, the civil society, local business, and local tourism agents. We have all worked hard for this. The Chico Mendes Institute for Conservation of Biodiversity believes that acknowledgement will further stress conservation value of these sites. As site manager, we know the new possibilities that will be available to us, just as we are aware to the challenge we will face and the responsibility we will assume. And now, I'm proud to introduce to you the fisherwoman, Raimara Aguiar, that lives in Lençóis Maranhenses National Park. Please, Raimara.
Good afternoon, everyone. My colleague Adels and I are very honored to be here representing the community that live in and around Lençóis Maranhenses National Park. This is eternal place, it's our home. Protecting this site means protecting this territory where you have grown up, its biodiversity and its amazing landscape. It's also means protect our way of life, our identity. We would like to thank Chris, the National Park Manager, for wonderful jobs she has been doing and for giving South high priority to engagement of the community. You have ours to take care of the Lençóis Maranhenses. Now we will take care of the World Heritage Sites, and we are very proud of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I now invite ICOMOS and IUCN to present the mixed nomination of Melka Kuntur and Balchet Archaeological and Paleontological Site, Ethiopia. ICOMOS and IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. IUCN first. The IUCN's evaluation can be found on the pages indicated on the slides. The Melka Kunsuri and Balkit archaeological and paleontological site comprises 6 component parts, totaling an area of 55 hectares. The nominated property is situated in the volcanic clastic deposit developed in the slowly subsiding depression where the Paleo Awash river had established its course. A substantial lava dam formed the fluvial basin within which the nominated property is located, favoring deposition in the basin, which thus prevented the archaeological remains from being fully eroded. Besides cultural criteria, the nominated property has been proposed under Natural Criterion 8. Based on careful expert review of the nominated property's geological values, IUCN considers that the geological characteristics of the nominated property are important in supporting the archaeological values nominated under cultural criteria, but do not justify the application of Criterion 8. The area in question is of national importance and not globally significant in terms of geological values. However, IUCN notes that there is a strong case for cultural values, and further information on that will be provided in the presentation by ICOMOS. With respect to the interplay between the geology and the cultural criteria, IUCN reviewers viewed this as the main value of the geological features at the nominated property. The geology formed the basin within which the fauna gathered and provided the means to preserve the lithic and hominin remains. The current gully erosion exposes the remains. In the view of IUCN, these geological values would be able to be addressed in the nominated properties value statement as cultural property. Based on dialogue with the state party during the evaluation process and following release of ICOMOS and IUCN's evaluation, it is IUCN's understanding that the state party is in agreement with that approach. Mr. Chair, further detail regarding the integrity, protection, and management of the nominated property with respect to Criterion 8 can be found in IUCN's evaluation report. However, as the criterion is no longer considered, IUCN concludes its presentation at this point. Accordingly, the draft decision in document 8B is based on ICOMOS recommendation. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I pass on to ICOMOS to address the cultural criteria. Thank you.
Thank you, IUCN. This is the presentation of the ICOMOS evaluation of Malka Kunture and Balkit archaeological and paleontological site, Ethiopia. The ICOMOS report can be found in document INF 8B1 on page 266 of the English version and page 291 of the French version. Next slide. Located in the Upper Awash Valley on the Ethiopian highlands at about 2,000 to 2,200 meters above sea level, the nominated serial property is made of 6 component parts selected based on the richness of their material. The 6 component parts, Gombore Garba, Simbiro, Balkit, Kela, Wofi, and Atabala, were selected among 70 archaeological outcrops identified in the area spanning over 80 kilometers squared. The total area of the property, as initially proposed in the nomination, is 55.5 hectares, with buffer zones totaling 9,637.9 hectares. The Malka Kunture sites are located in the gullies and valleys which eroded alluvial sediments from the lower and middle Pleistocene, while the locality of Balkid preserves the obsidian dome floor created as a result of volcanic activity some 3.5 million years ago. The cluster of Pleistocene archaeological and paleontological sites of Malka Kunture and Balkid preserves an exceptionally long cultural sequence consisting of 4 consecutive phases of the Oldowan, Acheulean, Middle Stone Age, and Late Stone Age technocomplexes. The sites testify to the occupation of the area by the hominin groups from 2 million years ago and their adaptation to the challenges and climatic conditions of the high mountain ecosystem. They yielded remains of Homo erectus, Homo heidelbergensis, and archaic Homo sapiens in different contexts and in association with a rich variety of lithic tools. The component parts contribute to the understanding of human evolution and allow to determine the chronology of cultural horizon of the Pleistocene epoch. The comparative analysis demonstrates the exceptional character of the property as a rare example of a preserved sequence of paleolandscapes that testify to the occupation by hominins of high altitudes and their adaptation to the environment of the high mountain ecosystem, with an exceptionally long sequence of 4 consecutive technological traditions recorded within one area and documented in different archaeological contexts. The nominated property demonstrates criteria 3, 4, and 5. However, ICOMOS considers that the application of a cultural landscape category is not justified, as the included scattered fragments of the paleolandscapes cannot be considered representative of what used to be a cultural landscape. The requirement for authenticity and integrity of the whole nominated series and of the individual component parts have been met. All component parts contribute substantially to the OUV of the property. They suffer from erosion to a small extent, and the intactness of the deposits in some areas is threatened by activities related to sand quarrying. The expansion of settlements and the related development of infrastructure need to be monitored at some of the component parts. The boundaries of component parts Gombore Garbar and Kela have been adjusted in February 2024 to include subsites that had been left in the buffer zone. The updated figures for the areas of the revised boundaries are yet to be provided. The legal tools to ensure the protection and management of the nominated property are in place. A management plan has been developed through a consultative process. However, adequate procedures and practical mechanisms should be put in place to guarantee effective protection and management within the existing legal framework, to strengthen human capacity and to ensure sustainability of funds for the maintenance of the property. Here is a summary of the ICOMOS evaluation of the proposed OUV of the nominated property. To conclude, ICOMOS recommends that Malka Kunture and Balkid archaeological and paleontological sites, Ethiopia, be inscribed in the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 3, 4, and 5, and recommends that the name be changed to Malka Kunture and Balkid archaeological and paleontological sites in the highland area of Ethiopia. This recommendation has been approved by the State Party in its response letter following the official submission of the evaluation text. ICOMOS has included a number of further recommendations in the draft decision to support the long-term conservation of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to know whether there are any comments concerning this nomination. I see none. Let's proceed then. Zambia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, ICOMOS, for the job well done and the State Party of Ethiopia. What I wanted to just find out is just a matter of procedure. What would have happened, and this is a question to ICOMOS, what would have happened if the State Party didn't agree with you on the name? Thank you.
ICOMOS, please respond to the question asked by the State Party of Zambia.
Thank you very much for the question, Zambia. If the State Party wouldn't have agreed, I guess it would have to be discussed by the whole committee to find an agreement. and have the final decision. Thank you.
Thank you. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46-8B.7. But before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed.
Monsieur le Président, nous n'avons pas reçu d'amendement concernant le projet de décision pour l'inscription du site archéologique et paléontologique Melka Konture et Balchit, Éthiopie. Merci.
Thank you. Are there any comments? I see none. I therefore declare the draft decision 46-8B.7 adopted. Thank you very much. Let me congratulate Ethiopia on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property. As a mark of respect to the Ethiopian culture, I'll try to speak one line in the Amharic language. En kwan des ilachu bemis gebachu. Thank you. Ethiopia, I hope you understood what I said. And you have the floor for a 4-minute statement.
Thank you, Chair. We've understood the message. Thank you. Excellency, my Minister of Tourism, Her Excellency Nancy Sejale, has sent a message. So I will read it on her behalf. Excellency Mr. Vishal Sharma, President of the 46th session of the World Heritage Committee, Mr. Lazal Enondi Asomo, Director of UNESCO World Heritage Center, distinguished delegates of the committee members, ladies and gentlemen. First, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the State Party of India for hosting the 46th session of World Heritage Committee. I would also like to express our appreciation to the Secretariat and advisory bodies for the meticulous work they have accomplished in evaluating the nomination dossier, and Africa World Heritage Fund for all the support. Ethiopia would like to thank the World Heritage Center and its advisory bodies for inscribing the Melka Konture and Balchit archaeological paleontological sites on the World Heritage List. As clearly stated in the Statement of Outstanding Values, the Melka Konture and Balchit archaeological and paleontological site is located in central Ethiopia, 60 kilometers south of Addis Ababa, along Awash River, where most of human origins paleontological sites in Ethiopia are found. Notably, the Lower Awash paleontological site inscribed on the list in 1980 is one of those. The unique nature of Melka Konture site is related to its Palestocene sequence of records covering the last 2 million years. The earliest technologies represented by the early Stone Age, Middle Stone Age, and later Stone Age human technologies are all well recorded at this site. Along the continuous exploitation of techniques of obsidian as raw material for the production of stone tools since 2 million years ago. The site also provided fossil remains of early human ancestors known as Homo erectus, Homo heidelbergensis, and modern humans, associated with various technological stages and innovations. The Melka Konture and Balchit archaeological and paleontological site is testament to the last 2 million years of continuous exploitation of Awash riverine environment, highlighting the site's importance as evidence of human endurance through its evolutionary trajectory. Being the true cradle of humankind and the land of origins, Ethiopia commits itself to the decision made by the committee in preserving and protecting the property. Thank you.
Thank you. I now invite ECOMOS to present the nomination of the emergence of modern humans, the Pleistocene occupation sites of South Africa, agenda item 46-8B.12. But before that, I give the floor to the Secretariat. Mr. Balsamo, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We received a factual error notification concerning the evaluation of the nomination of the emergence of modern humans, the Pleistocene occupation sites of South Africa. And this is to be found on page 40 of both the English and French version of document INF 8B4. Thank you.
ICOMOS, you have the floor.
This is a presentation of the ICOMOS evaluation of the emergence of modern humans, the Pleistocene occupation sites of South Africa. The ICOMOS report can be found in document INF.8B1 on page 37 of the English version and page 16 of the French version. On this evaluation, ICOMOS has received a letter on factual errors and has acknowledged some of these errors. The nominated property is composed of 3 archaeological sites that provide exceptional evidence of behavioral and paleo-environmental developments in the Middle Stone Age and bear witness to the development of modern human behavior dating back as far as 162,000 years. The evidence includes ochre processing, engravings, beads, decorated eggshells, advanced projectile weapons, heat-treated stone tools, and microliths. The 3 component parts that define the nominated property are disseminated across South Africa. Deep Kloof Rock Shelter and Pinnacle Point Site Complex are located in Western Cape Province, and the Sibudu Cave is located in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. The 3 nominated archaeological sites provide excellent scientific evidence for the first appearance of modern human behavior in the Middle Stone Age, and they present the best preserved and probably most complete record known of this important step in human development. They offer some of the most important evidence known for the consistent exploitation of coastal resources during the Middle and Late Pleistocene. They contain early evidence of symbolic thought and advanced technologies. All 3 component parts contain long stratigraphic sequences of human occupation that together cover a time span of about 124,000 years, from 162,000 to 38,000 years ago. The comparative analysis underscores the importance of these archaeological sites as they offer comprehensive evidence of the evolution of modern human behavior during the Middle to Late Pleistocene. These sites reveal not only well-documented interactions of Homo sapiens with a changing environment, but also crucial cognitive advancements and diverse cultural expressions. The nominated property demonstrates criteria 3, 4, and 5. The nominated property is of adequate size to encompass all the attributes necessary to express its outstanding universal value and to ensure the complete representation of the features that convey its significance. Preservation conditions, even for organic materials, at the Sibudu Cave are very good. Favorable dispositional processes have allowed the steady accumulation of archaeologically significant deposits with little or no loss due to natural erosion or human or animal activities. The views from the sites are generally undisturbed. Archaeological excavations have been conducted according to the highest international standards. All remains have been carefully curated and cataloged in national collections, and their significance and the interpretations based upon them have been reported and published in international journals. The stratigraphic sequences and the dating of the different deposits confirm the authenticity of the archaeological context and remains that constitute evidence of modern human behavior. The requirements for authenticity and integrity have been met. While the boundaries of the buffer zone of Deep Kloof Rock Shelter are adequate, the buffer zones of the 2 other component parts have been the subject of discussion and exchanges between ICOMOS and the state party during the evaluation procedure of this nomination. Thanks to this dialogue, the state party agreed to explore the option of extending the buffer zone of Pinnacle Point site complex into the ocean. ICOMOS considers that the buffer zone of Sibudu Cave is too narrow to adequately protect the component part from mixed development. ICOMOS will recommend an expansion of the buffer zone to include the 300-meter wide conservation through a minor boundary modification request. The legal protection framework offers adequate protection to the 3 archaeological sites. ICOMOS notes that the 3 component parts remain under private ownership and recommends the urgent establishment of formal heritage agreements with legal owners. The management structure and planning documents are adequate. ICOMOS considers that there is a need to operationalize the management tools and finalize the 2 updated integrated conservation management plans to ensure the most effective management of the nominated property. Here is a summary of the ICOMOS evaluation of the proposed outstanding universal value of the nominated property. To conclude, ICOMOS recommends that the emergence of modern humans, the Pleistocene occupation sites of South Africa, be inscribed in the World Heritage List on the basis of criteria 3, 4, and 5. ICOMOS has included a number of further recommendations in the draft decision to support the long-term conservation of the property and has requested a name change of the property to the emergence of modern human behavior, the Pleistocene occupation sites of South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, ICOMOS, for your presentation. I would now like to know whether there are any comments concerning this nomination. I see none. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46 Comm 8B.12, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous n'avons pas reçu d'amendement concernant le projet de décision pour l'inscription des sites d'occupation du Pléistocène en Afrique du Sud. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Are there any comments? I see none. Before we adopt this draft decision as a whole, would any member state like to take the floor? I see none. I therefore declare draft decision 46 Comm 8B.12 adopted. Thank you very much. Let me congratulate South Africa on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of their property. South Africa, you have the floor. But before you do that, in continuation of our desire to speak native languages, the Secretariat now wants me to speak in Zulu. So please bear with me. These are very ancient languages, and I do that with deep respect for Zulu language in my heart. Negiya kuhalali sela nagoku bali sa kwako. Thank you. And South Africa, I hope you could forgive me if I've pronounced anything wrongly, but you have the floor for your 4-minute statement.
Thank you. Members of the World Heritage Committee, Excellencies representing various state parties, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, I greet you on behalf of the people of South Africa. Since it is our first time taking the floor, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate India on hosting a well-organized conference and for your exceptional hospitality. It is with immense pride and profound gratitude that I stand before you today to accept the gracious recognition for the emergence of modern human behavior, the Pleistocene occupation sites of South Africa as a World Heritage Site on behalf of the people of South Africa and the world. This designation includes Deep Kloof Rock Shelter in Elands Bay, Pinnacle Point Site Complex in Mossel Bay, and Sibudu Cave in KwaZulu-Natal, connecting through our eastern border on the Indian Ocean. This momentous occasion marks a significant milestone in our collective journey to preserve and celebrate the origins of modern human behavior and our shared cultural heritage. The inscription of the modern human behavior sites complements the existing World Heritage recognition of South Africa's fossil humanite site and underscores our country's pivotal role in narrating the origin and the story of human origins. This inscription adds the 11th site to South Africa's World Heritage Sites. As we celebrate this prestigious recognition, we also acknowledge the critical role of heritage in fostering national unity and identity. These sites are not only for archaeological treasures, but also symbols of our resilience, creativity, and capacity for innovation. They remind us of the importance of preserving our cultural and natural heritage for future generations. In the words of late South African paleontologist Professor Philip Tobias, who was once asked, "What has South Africa given the world?" His reply was, "There's a simple answer. South Africa gave the world humanity, and this is no small thing." At this juncture, I'd like to hand over to Dr. Tobile Sifungua, the Head of Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport in KwaZulu-Natal, where Sibudu Cave is located.
In accepting the honor, we reaffirm our commitment to preserving the cultural and natural heritage of South Africa and the world. We pledge to continue fostering a deeper understanding of our shared history, promoting education and encouraging sustainable economic spin-offs that respect and protect these invaluable sites. The commitment to protecting the sites is a collective effort involving local communities, stakeholders, and authorities. Their dedication is crucial to maintaining the integrity and authenticity of these sites. We recognize their invaluable contributions and pledge to support their efforts through comprehensive management frameworks and national heritage legislation. On behalf of the people of South Africa, we extend our heartfelt thanks to UNESCO, the World Heritage Committee, the African World Heritage Fund, the World Heritage Center, and other state parties that have supported us for this distinguished recognition. Together, we will ensure that these sites continue to inspire and educate future generations about the rich tapestry of human history. Siyabonga.
Thank you. I now invite ICOMOS to present the nomination of the Royal Court of Tiebele, Burkina Faso. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Il s'agit de la présentation de l'évaluation de l'ICOMOS de la Cour royale de Tiebele, Burkina Faso. Le rapport de l'ICOMOS se trouve dans le document INF 8B1 à la page 15 de la version anglaise et à la page 31 de la version française. La Cour royale de Tiebele est située dans la commune de Tiebele, à 172 km au sud de Ouagadougou, la capitale du Burkina Faso, et à la frontière avec le Ghana. Elle constitue un ensemble architectural remarquable en terre, témoignant de l'organisation sociale et des valeurs culturelles du peuple Kassena, répartis entre le nord du Ghana et le sud du Burkina Faso. La Cour royale de Tiebele s'étend sur environ 1,84 hectares. Elle est clôturée par un mur d'enceinte défensif et est composée d'îlots ou concessions, de placettes et de passages. Elle est répartie spatialement et socialement en 5 domaines, organisés chacun autour des maisons mères en forme de 8, complétées par les maisons des jeunes mariés de forme quadrangulaire, celles des adolescents et hommes célibataires de forme circulaire, et les greniers, silos et poulaillers de forme conique. Plusieurs éléments symboliques sont situés à proximité de l'enceinte de la cour. Installée depuis le XVIe siècle au pied de la colline Tchébili, la cour se distingue par son architecture spécifique en terre, organisée sous forme de concessions réparties selon le statut des habitants. Elle regroupe les maisons mères ou dignans, réservées aux personnes âgées, aux veuves, aux femmes célibataires et aux enfants, les maisons des jeunes mariés ou mangolos, et les maisons des adolescents et hommes célibataires ou draps. À ces habitations s'ajoutent des éléments sacrés symboliques qui témoignent de la préservation des pratiques traditionnelles de la culture Kassena. Le pourou, butte sacrée où est enterré le placenta des nouveau-nés de la famille royale, le figuier rouge marquant l'entrée de la cour et sous lequel sont disposés les dallas, pierres sacrées représentant les sièges des princes et notables, le nabari, tombe du fondateur de la famille royale, le Nankongo, qui fait office de tribunal et de lieu de palabre, et le Bonalais, cimetière de la cour royale. La cour est également le réceptacle de pratiques et de savoir-faire qui en font un site évolutif et vivant, à l'exemple des décorations murales réservées aux femmes de la cour ou des pratiques rituelles associées au culte des ancêtres et aux rites funéraires. Le P, chef coutumier, est le garant de l'ordre social et spirituel. L'analyse comparative démontre la singularité et la spécificité de la cour royale de Tiébélé à l'échelle de l'espace géoculturel africain en tant que site vivant, et la particularité des formes architecturales et du style décoratif qui le caractérise, mais aurait pu être renforcée en prenant en compte la technique de construction, la répartition spatiale, sociale et fonctionnelle, et le rôle des hommes et des femmes dans la construction. Le bien est proposé pour inscription sur la base des critères 4, 5 et 6. L'ICOMOS considère cependant qu'aucun de ces 3 critères n'est démontré, mais que le bien répond au critère 3, au regard de sa capacité à représenter de manière remarquable la culture Kassena, à travers l'architecture, les décorations murales et les aspects sociaux, anthropologiques et politiques qui lui sont associés. Les conditions concernant l'intégrité et l'authenticité sont remplies, mais demeurent menacées par un défaut d'entretien des bâtiments, pouvant parfois les mener à l'état de ruine. L'évolution des techniques de construction, avec notamment l'emploi de l'adobe et l'utilisation de nouveaux matériaux tels que le ciment, la tôle ondulée et les fenêtres métalliques, le goudron ou d'autres produits chimiques, constituent également des menaces. L'évolution des motifs illustrant les murs est à contrôler, de façon à permettre la création de nouveaux motifs tout en assurant la préservation des anciens. Les limites du bien proposé pour inscription comprennent l'ensemble des attributs de la cour royale, tandis que celles de la zone tampon correspondent aux limites précoloniales de la cour. Le système de protection et de gestion de la cour royale de Tiébélé est satisfaisant, mais doit être renforcé à travers l'intégration des projets d'aménagement et de développement en cours ou futurs et leurs éventuels impacts, le recours à des évaluations d'impact sur le patrimoine, l'inclusion de la gestion des risques et le suivi de la mise en œuvre du plan de conservation. Il est urgent de finaliser le processus de nomination du gestionnaire du site. Voici un résumé de l'évaluation de l'ICOMOS de la valeur universelle exceptionnelle proposée pour le bien. En conclusion, l'ICOMOS recommande que la Cour royale de Tiébélé, Burkina Faso, soit inscrite sur la liste du patrimoine mondial sur la base du critère 3 et a inclus un certain nombre de recommandations supplémentaires dans le projet de décision pour soutenir la conservation à long terme du bien. Merci de votre attention.
Thank you. I would like to know whether there are any comments concerning this nomination at this point, or I will also open the floor when I go and ask the rapporteur if there are any amendments. Lebanon, you want to intervene at this point? You have the floor.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. L'État partie avait proposé le bien pour inscription sur la base des critères 4, 5 et 6. L'ICOMOS n'a retenu aucun de ces 3 critères proposés par l'État partie, mais a proposé le critère 3. Cela nous a paru quelque peu bizarre et nous a poussé à étudier le dossier en profondeur. Nous avons alors estimé que tous les éléments présentés dans le dossier justifiaient le critère 6. La Cour royale de Tiébélé est un haut lieu de pratiques vivantes et de rites religieux ancestraux liés à la culture du peuple Kassena. Les attributs matériels du bien, comme la butte sacrée, le figuier rouge, la case du tribunal ou l'autel ancestral, sont le support de ces pratiques, et les décorations murales sont riches en significations qui reflètent les mythes et les croyances traditionnelles du peuple Kassena. Après avoir présenté notre amendement proposant d'ajouter le critère 6, l'État partie nous a informé qu'il ne souhaitait plus que le bien soit inscrit sur la base de ce critère 6, et que la proposition de l'ICOMOS de ne retenir uniquement que le critère 3 leur convenait parfaitement. Monsieur le Président, nous n'allons pas être plus royalistes que le roi. Puisque l'État partie et l'ICOMOS sont d'accord, nous retirons notre projet d'amendement d'ajouter le critère 6. Merci.
Thank you. I give the floor to Belgium.
Monsieur le Président, la Belgique a examiné avec une grande satisfaction la proposition d'inscription de la Cour royale de Tibélé, que la Belgique connaît très bien par ailleurs. En effet, depuis plus de 10 ans, la Belgique entretient des liens étroits avec le bien. Grâce à ce soutien, se sont déroulés des échanges mutuels d'acteurs du patrimoine, d'experts et d'artisans des deux pays pendant plusieurs années. Pour cela, ce dossier est au cœur des préoccupations de la Convention et est un signe d'espoir en faveur d'une liste du patrimoine mondial plus crédible, plus représentative de la diversité et de la richesse des cultures du monde, mais également du renforcement des capacités. La décision que nous nous apprêtons à prendre est également une reconnaissance d'une organisation sociétale et d'un mode de gestion traditionnel et efficace. Ce bien représente la valorisation des savoir-faire traditionnels, mais vivants. Le développement de cette architecture et sa décoration a été conditionné par le développement des connaissances et des pratiques des communautés locales, concernant la nature, l'univers et les pratiques sociales, rites et fêtes régis par celles-ci. Marqueur culturel de la région, la Cour royale de Tibélé témoigne de la transmission des savoir-faire, la répartition sociale des tâches entre la construction et la décoration des habitats, mais également des croyances, des légendes et des mythes transmis à travers les motifs décoratifs qu'on voit à l'écran et qui confirment la forte symbolique architecturale portée par les communautés locales. Dès lors, la Belgique souhaitait porter l'ajout du critère 6 à la décision, tel que proposé dans l'amendement porté par le Liban. Comme le Liban l'a indiqué, la Belgique respecte aussi la position de l'État partie du Burkina Faso et ne suivra pas le critère 6. La Belgique donc remercie l'État partie d'avoir proposé ce dossier à l'inscription et soutient ce magnifique bien. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Senegal, followed by Zambia.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je n'ai pas eu l'occasion de le faire depuis le début. Je dois féliciter l'Inde pour l'accueil et la parfaite organisation de cette rencontre. Féliciter aussi Monsieur le Président. Je n'ai jamais vu un président aussi joyeux et aussi bien inspiré, ce qui fait que nous avons un comité sans stress. Je n'ai jamais vu un comité du patrimoine mondial aussi calme. Je pense que nous le doyons au président, nous le doyons aussi et nous le devons aussi au comité du patrimoine mondial, à son président qui a anticipé sur beaucoup de questions. Donc on vous remercie. On remercie le comité. Je pense aussi que c'est un comité extrêmement convivial. Les observateurs, les États partis et aussi tout le personnel autour de nous qui est en train de faire un travail remarquable. Pour en revenir à la Cour royale, je pense que l'ICOMOS a joué un rôle extrêmement important. Les critères qui avaient été retenus par l'État parti au début s'avèrent avec le temps manquer de prudence. Parce que le fait que le site soit vivant et que les traditions peuvent évoluer induisait un recul par rapport aux critères précédents. Je comprends et je salue aussi l'attitude de nos collègues du Liban, qui ont fait une proposition argumentée, mais qui, à la rencontre de l'État parti, ont compris qu'on ne pouvait pas être plus royaliste que le roi. Donc, on est très, très heureux de l'issue de cette proposition et le fait qu'on puisse l'accepter conformément aux travaux et aux suggestions de l'ICOM et au choix de l'État partie. Merci.
Thank you, Senegal, for your kind words of appreciation. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Zambia, followed by Rwanda.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to join the State Party of Senegal in appreciating your chairmanship. The first time I learned that you are going to be the president or the chair of this committee, I remembered the Saudi 40 minutes discussion, and I was saying, are we going to have a good one in India? But the opposite of you has been seen today. Mr. Chairman, I want to take this special occasion to just appreciate the role played by ICOMOS. I'm saying so because I'm thrilled to see a young lady in the name of Alisa, sorry to mention your name, sit in front there and representing the youthful Africa. For me, this is something which is very commendable and would want to just appreciate ICOMOS as well as the works that they have done on this special file. So for this, I don't want to bore you with a lot of words, but just to appreciate what ICOMOS is doing in terms of promoting the young generation, but at the same time being gender-oriented. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zambia. Thank you, Kagosi, for your kind words. I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Rwanda.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Le Rwanda s'associe aux voix de nos prédécesseurs et félicite le Burkina Faso, de même que l'ICOMOS, pour l'analyse judicieuse de ces dossiers. Le Rwanda soutient la proposition émise par l'ICOMOS d'inscrire la Cour royale de Tébélé sur la liste du patrimoine mondial sous les critères proposés, qui est le critère 3. 6 plutôt. Merci.
Thank you. Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of Group 5A, we are very excited to convey our congratulations to Burkina Faso for the well-deserved listing on the prestigious World Heritage List. This contributes significantly because this is a practical way of bridging the gap that we've been speaking about for the last few years. We congratulate you, we celebrate you, and to ICOMOS, kudos for providing very specific and excellent guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. I see that there are no more comments, no questions directed. Rwanda, you want to take the floor again? You have
Merci. C'est peut-être pour un lapsus linguique. La proposition émise, c'est d'inscrire les sites sous les critères 3 comme proposé par nos prédécesseurs. Merci.
Yes. I see that there are no more questions and comments. So, other than appreciation for the ICOMOS representative from the distinguished representative of Zambia, you want to take the floor to thank ICOMOS? Alicia?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Zambia. Thank you.
I now invite another son of Africa who cannot stop himself, so I'll give him the floor as well.
Non, merci, Monsieur le Président. C'était juste pour peut-être réagir suite effectivement à cette situation liée autour de l'ajout du critère 6 et, ou pas. Et dire simplement que effectivement c'est un site sur lequel j'ai beaucoup travaillé personnellement dans les années passées. C'est un site vivant. Et je pense que dans le projet de décision que vous allez examiner, l'ICOMOS a fait un ensemble de recommandations et qui, de toute façon, vont amener l'État partie et toutes les autorités en charge de la gestion de la conservation de ce site de continuer à promouvoir et mettre en place les systèmes de gestion traditionnels qui vont permettre la préservation des motifs, le contrôle de l'apparition des nouveaux motifs, la responsabilisation de toutes les parties prenantes qui, tous les jours, continuent d'assurer la conservation, la gestion et la préservation de ces sites. Et cet ensemble de recommandations est effectivement très important et nous allons travailler, bien sûr, avec les autorités pour ce faire. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46COM 8B.9. But before doing so, I will ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed.
Nous avions reçu un amendement qui a été retiré à l'instant par la délégation du Liban, tel qu'annoncé, Monsieur le Président. Nous n'avons plus d'amendement concernant l'inscription, le projet de décision pour l'inscription de la Cour royale de Tiébélé, Burkina Faso. Merci.
Thank you. Are there any comments? I see none. I therefore declare the draft decision 46COM 8B.9 adopted. Thank you very much. Let me congratulate Burkina Faso on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property. Je vous félicite pour votre inscription. Burkina Faso, you have the floor for a 4-minute statement. Thank you.
Monsieur le Président, distingués membres du Comité du patrimoine mondial, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs, au nom du peuple burkinabé, je voudrais exprimer ma plus profonde gratitude à la République de l'Aisne qui nous fait l'honneur d'accueillir cette 46e session du Comité du patrimoine mondial. J'exprime toute ma reconnaissance aux membres du Comité et aux organisations consultatives pour avoir consacré la valeur universelle exceptionnelle de la Cour royale de Tiébélé. Par cette décision du Comité, la communauté internationale reconnaît ainsi au Burkina Faso d'être l'un des dépositaires de la conscience de l'humanité, pour emprunter les mots aimables à son Excellence, Monsieur le Premier ministre de l'Aisne, dans sa déclaration d'ouverture de la présente session. Ce jour 26 juillet 2024 est historique pour le Burkina Faso et son peuple. C'est le couronnement d'efforts continus et d'actions concrètes et cohérentes qui permettent au pays des hommes intègres de savourer l'inscription de son 4e bien sur la liste du patrimoine mondial. En effet, Monsieur le Président, la Cour royale de Tiébélé est devenue, par cette consécration, un témoignage universel commun que nous engageons à conserver et à valoriser dans l'intérêt de l'humanité toute entière. En dépit de ce qui se dit sur les pays du Sahel en général, Monsieur le Président, le peuple burkinabé vient de recevoir encore ici un témoignage de sa résilience, une résilience qu'il a su bâtir depuis les temps immémoriaux et sur laquelle d'ailleurs le gouvernement du Burkina Faso entend consolider sa souveraineté culturelle et nationale de façon décomplexée. L'inscription de la Cour royale de Tiébélé est un marqueur de l'engagement de notre pays dans un esprit de coopération fructueuse aux côtés des autres nations du monde dans la mise en œuvre de la Convention de 1972 par des actions concrètes et tangibles. Je vous fais la promesse, Monsieur le Président, que le Burkina Faso veillera à la préservation de la valeur universelle exceptionnelle de la Cour royale de Tiébélé, tout en la gardant ouverte et accessible à tout le monde entier, car elle est désormais notre bien commun. Monsieur le Président, distingués invités et distingués délégués de la 46e session, j'ai hâte de vous accueillir tous à Tiébélé les prochains jours et les prochaines semaines et les prochains mois pour apprécier par vous-même les attributs exceptionnels de ce merveilleux site. Et pour terminer, Monsieur le Président, je ne saurais passer sous silence le gigantesque et remarquable travail abattu au quotidien par l'UNESCO à travers le Centre du patrimoine mondial et le Fonds du patrimoine mondial africain. Qu'il me soit permis d'exprimer la reconnaissance du peuple burkinabé à notre organisation commune. Je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Thank you. I now invite ECOMOS to present the nomination of the colonial trans-Isthmian route of Panama. But before I give the floor to I give the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo.
Thank you, Chairperson. We received a factual error notification concerning the evaluation of the nomination of the colonial trans-Isthmian route of Panama, and this is to be found on page 32 of both the English and French version of document INF 8B4. Thank you.
Thank you, ECOMOS, thank you, Mr. Balsamo. ECOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This is the presentation of the ECOMOS evaluation of the colonial trans-Isthmian route, Panama. The ECOMOS report can be found in document INF 8B1 on page 251 of the English version and page 54 of the French version. On this evaluation, ECOMOS has received a letter on factual errors and has acknowledged some of these errors. From the 16th century, the Isthmus of Panama became a global strategic geopolitical asset, facilitating the transportation of goods and people between the Iberian Peninsula and the colonies of the Kingdom of Spain. This nominated serial property is testimony to the crossing of the Isthmus of Panama, linking fortified settlements, historic towns, archaeological sites, and parts of the roads that were used to connect the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific Ocean until the mid-18th century. This is the first of a two-phase nomination which proposes a renomination of the World Heritage Property of the archaeological site of Panama Viejo and Historic District of Panama by adding 3 sections of Camino de Cruces and the Castle of San Lorenzo to the already inscribed component parts. The Castle of San Lorenzo is also part of an already inscribed World Heritage Property, the fortifications of the Caribbean side of Panama, Portobello and San Lorenzo. In 2019, this nomination was deferred by the World Heritage Committee. The nomination has responded to requests from the World Heritage Committee and advice from ECOMOS proposing a significant modification to the rationale for inscription, boundaries, criteria, and name of the already inscribed property. This followed several years of World Heritage Committee decisions, a high-level reactive monitoring mission, and an ECOMOS advisory process focused on serious concerns about the state of conservation of the historic district of Panama. The deferral in 2019 proposed that the nomination should include access to and from the Caribbean Sea and more research on the connections of the Trans-Isthmian route and surviving tangible evidence. The State Party has responded positively to these issues, and improvements have been made to the state of conservation of the Castle of San Lorenzo, enabling a terminal point on the Caribbean to be included in the first phase. Shown here are the Camino Real on the eastern side of the isthmus and the Camino de Cruces further to the west. These are the 2 stages of this nomination. The Camino Real went overland, and the Camino de Cruces had both land and water sections. These were used in different seasonal conditions and for different types of cargo. Both sections are to be nominated, but this nomination concerns only Phase 1, the Camino de Cruces. The red pegs on the right show the locations of the 6 component parts. Phase 2 of the nomination strategy will, in future, add the Camino Real and the Caribbean terminus at Portobello, which are shown by the blue pegs. There are 6 component parts, Starting from the cliff-top fortification at San Lorenzo on the Caribbean Sea, the route terminates on the Pacific coastline at the historic district of Panama and the archaeological site of Panama Viejo. 3 component parts define the route: a fluvial section, a longer terrestrial section located within forested national parks, and a short final section that reaches the semi-urban outskirts of Panama City. The colonial trans-Isthmian route of Panama played an important role in the development of interoceanic trade from the 16th to 18th centuries, when the Kingdom of Spain established political and religious dominion in Spanish colonies in the Americas, the Philippines, and Africa. Due to its location between Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, the Isthmus of Panama became a central node in this global transportation system, and the route was a conduit for the exchange of goods and people. The comparative analysis established the basis for the route to be included in the World Heritage List. The justification for inscription is structured around the route as a central node of an interoceanic axis, the global pattern of trade and colonial domination, and the specific operation of the system of transportation. The property is proposed on the basis of criteria 2, 4, and 6. ICOMOS considers that criterion 2 and 4 are demonstrated, but that criterion 6 has not been demonstrated. Issues of integrity and authenticity differ between the component parts due to their physical contexts. Although discontinuities to the route have occurred over time, the authenticity and integrity of the Camino de Cruces components are generally good. There have been substantial concerns about the integrity of the urban components in the past due to the deterioration and loss of historic buildings and large-scale development and infrastructure projects. ICOMOS considers that the conditions of integrity of the archaeological site of Panama Viejo and the historic district of Panama are improving but remain vulnerable. Overall, the state of conservation is fair but variable. The most serious factors are development pressures on the urban components. The protection of the nominated serial property needs further improvement to designate the Camino de Cruces and Camino Real as cultural heritage, and to protect the nominated serial property as a single entity. ICOMOS recommends that the state party should continue the survey, research, and documentation work so that the second phase of the nomination can be submitted. Here is a summary of the ICOMOS evaluation of the proposed outstanding universal value of the nominated property. ICOMOS considers the criteria 2 and 4 have been met. The property is an outstanding example of a route establishing transcontinental flows of culture, resources, and colonial power during a crucial stage in the history of the Americas. However, criterion 6 has not been demonstrated. The integrity of the nominated serial property is vulnerable, as already explained. Here is the summary of the ICOMOS evaluation of the conservation, protection, and management of the nominated property. Despite commendable improvements, several issues that were requested by the World Heritage Committee's previous decisions require further work. The archaeological site of Panama Viejo and the historic district of Panama remain vulnerable to development pressures. A formal heritage impact assessment mechanism is considered essential to ensure that the potential impacts of development on the potential outstanding universal value are thoroughly considered. Designation of Camino de Cruces and Camino Real as cultural heritage should be completed, and the protection of the serial property as a single entity is needed, as already explained. The management system needs to be put into operation. Additional elements such as a tourism and interpretation strategy are needed, and mechanisms for the participation of local communities and Indigenous peoples need to be reinforced. To conclude, ICOMOS recommends that the colonial transisthmian route, Panama, be referred back to the state party for the following main reasons shown on the slide: to legally protect the whole heritage route as one entity, to legally protect the sections of Camino de Cruces and Camino Real as cultural heritage, to complete, legally adopt and implement the Heritage Impact Assessment Mechanism, and to complete and implement a tourism and interpretation strategy for the nominated serial property as a whole. ICOMOS has included a number of recommendations in the draft decision. Yes, thank you. I'll start again. We have included a number of further recommendations in the draft decision to aid the long-term conservation of the property, as shown on this slide. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to know whether there are any comments concerning this nomination. Lebanon, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry to take the floor so often, but there are some technical issues. This nomination dossier seems very complex. It's the first phase of a two-phases serial nomination. The first phase includes property 790 bis, namely the archaeological site of Panama Viejo and the historic city of Panama. And it includes also one component of the property C-135, fortification on the Caribbean side of Panama, namely the castle of San Lorenzo. Since 2008, the committee expressed deep concern on the state of conservation on property 790 bis, namely Panama Viejo and the historic city of Panama. Several decisions were adopted to consider the possibility of inscribing the property on the list in danger, and since 2013, the committee requested to submit a significant boundary modification to avoid the deletion of the property from the list. On the other hand, the fortification of the Caribbean side of Panama, property C-135, are inscribed on the World Heritage List in danger since 2012. We have three questions to ICOMOS. What would happen with property 790 bis, namely Panama Viejo and the historic city of Panama, once the colonial trans-Isthmian route is inscribed? Number two, what is the rationale to include in a new nomination property that have problems of integrity or are inscribed on the World Heritage List in danger? And the third question is, at its 43rd section in Baku, the World Heritage Committee adopted the decision 43-8B40 to defer the examination of this nomination and requested from the state party several issues, including the preparation of a risk preparedness strategy for the heritage route, acknowledging the different risks to the various components. What happens with this recommendation that does not appear anymore in the draft decision, while it may be essential given the difficult conditions of integrity and authenticity of several components? These are three questions to ICOMOS. Thank you.
I thank you, Excellency, and please don't apologize to take the floor. It's always a pleasure to hear you. You're always so well prepared and precise in your questions, and you remind me of my colleague from the ASI, Mr. Janvit Sharma, who's also so precise. Thank you. I now give the floor to ICOMOS to answer those questions.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the distinguished delegate of Lebanon. I will try my best to answer these very pertinent questions about this nomination. They are also challenges for our work since we have begun evaluating this nomination. To answer the first question, you asked what will happen to the currently inscribed property of Panama Viejo and the Historic Center of Panama, should this property be inscribed. My understanding is that that inscribed property will be absorbed into this one. So this is essentially a major renomination of that property. So we will no longer have that as a standalone World Heritage property, the way it is at the moment within the World Heritage List. The second question was about the consequences for including the Castle of San Lorenzo into this first stage of the two-stage nomination strategy, given that it is currently part of a two-component serial property which was retained on the list of World Heritage in Danger several days ago by this committee under item 7A. We, of course, watched your discussions of that matter with great interest. My understanding is that that property will remain on the list of World Heritage in Danger according to the decision that was taken. However, the Castle of San Lorenzo will have a second World Heritage inscription which will be attached to this route. We therefore looked with great care at the current state of conservation of the Castle of San Lorenzo and noted, as I'm sure all of you did earlier this week, that the State Party has undertaken significant improvements to the state of conservation of the Castle of San Lorenzo. So its inclusion in this first stage of the nomination strategy is considered to be possible, both technically and in terms of the overall impact on the nomination of the route to the World Heritage List. ICOMOS had in 2019 been very insistent that in order for the route to be represented in the first stage, it had to touch both coastlines because it was the ability to show the crossing of the isthmus which was at the heart of the revised nomination strategy. Therefore, the provision of the Castle of San Lorenzo as part of this first stage of the revised nomination strategy was a direct response to that recommendation which had been adopted when the committee deferred the nomination in 2019 in Baku. I guess you're also suggesting that there are vulnerabilities to the integrity of this new nominated route because of the existing issues that have been in place for both properties on both sides of the Isthmus of Panama. This is discussed in some detail in our evaluation report. In terms of the recommendations that were made in 2019, these obviously informed the continuing work on this nomination by the State Party and were taken into account in the current evaluation. I think we have covered them all, but perhaps you can direct our attention to any that you think are not. Certainly, the recommendations that now appear in our evaluation report for this property are the matters that we consider to be the most serious outstanding issues for this stage one of the route. And we also, I think, would be very much hoping that the State Party can continue its conservation work at Portobello and continue its documentation and research on the second stage of the route so that it can also come forward as early as practicable from their position. I think I've done my best to answer the questions of from the committee member chair, so I will finish there. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further queries or questions? India, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. What we heard from the ICOMOS, am I correct in understanding when you were responding to the first question, and you said that there was a particular, portion of this nomination which was already a World Heritage property, but now that we have another one that we're examining in which the previous one also is one of the components. So in case this nomination goes on to the World Heritage List, then the previous property is subsumed into this, which means that no longer remains a World Heritage property in its isolation, and only this one will be considered. Am I correct in my understanding?
Nicomos, Mexico, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señor presidente. Quisiéramos hacer una precisión en este sentido y con el permiso del Estado parte, porque ha tomado una decisión. Es una candidatura que me ha sido muy cercana porque hemos sido parte de el grupo que desde un principio empezó a hablar con las autoridades de Panamá en cuanto a la construcción de esta postulación. Dos distinguidas, además, personalidades del ICOMOS fueron las que han estado también asesorando plenamente a esta candidatura. Quiero dejar en claro, porque hay duda en ello, y el caso mexicano ejemplifica perfectamente esto, señor delegado de Líbano. En 2010 México inscribió al Camino Real de Tierra Adentro, asimilando a 5 sitios, 5 centros históricos ya inscritos en la lista del Patrimonio Mundial. No perdieron su categoría como sitios individuales, pero entraron dentro, porque era necesario así, dentro del discurso histórico para justificar el trayecto del Camino Real de Tierra Adentro. Es el mismo caso con esta candidatura de Panamá, así es de que son sitios que no serán asimilados, pero que forman parte de indiscutiblemente de ese discurso. Hay un trabajo detallado que ha hecho Panamá, han atendido plenamente las recomendaciones del ICOMOS, creo que coincidiremos con eso, con el ICOMOS internacional, y sin embargo hay otras circunstancias actuales que harán que este sitio siga ese trayecto atendiendo las nuevas recomendaciones, pese a que algunas de ellas ya estaban en vías de ser solventadas, sobre todo la duda de la conservación de Portobelo. Es mi comentario. Gracias.
Thank you. I'll now give the floor to ICOMOS to respond. 1 second. Argentina, you have the floor, please.
Gracias, señor presidente. En este caso se trata de un Estado parte que pertenece a nuestra región y han tomado una decisión que queremos que sea valorada en su justa medida y que luego de la decisión que se adopte, no importa cuál sea, sabemos que le van a dar la palabra a la delegación para que exprese el compromiso absoluto que tiene con esta convención y la seriedad con la que en nuestra región tomamos a este comité. Lo que está haciendo Panamá con esta inscripción, con esta propuesta, es un ejemplo. En esta reunión, en esta sesión del comité hemos tenido muchos ejemplos y esperamos seguir teniéndolos. En este caso en particular, la seriedad y el compromiso van a ser manifestados por la delegación en el momento en que se tome la decisión, que nosotros vamos a acompañar el consenso para que esto sirva, como dije, de ejemplo de cómo se debe trabajar. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. India, are you satisfied with that response, and Mexico as well?
Mr. Chair, can I also have ICOMOS's view on this?
Yeah, I had given the floor to ICOMOS. My request is please respond to the query so that the chair doesn't have to ask it again. You have the floor once again.
Thank you. I'll attempt to do that, Chair. Thank you. Our understanding is And this is, as many of you have said, a case that goes back some years. In 2013, the high-level reactive monitoring mission suggested this as one of 3 possible options for resolving the difficulties that had been identified by the World Heritage Committee in the years before. This is the option that the State Party chose to pursue and has been pursuing since 2013. And the 2019 decision that you took in Baku, or the World Heritage Committee took in Baku, was also based on this strategy. So it is essentially a renomination of the existing World Heritage property of Panama Viejo and the Historic Center of Panama. It creates a different basis for outstanding universal value, but uses those 2 components to create this route that crosses the isthmus. The property on the other side, on the Caribbean side, Portobello and San Lorenzo, will not be absorbed into this property in the same way. So many of you have mentioned, for example, the example from Mexico, where you ended up with some sites having more than 1 World Heritage designation. This has happened many times. It's happened with the spa towns of Europe. It's happened with Kotor in Europe. Many more and more sites now have more than 1 designation on the World Heritage List, but for different reasons, for a different statement of outstanding universal value. So I hope that's clear. It is confusing. We have worked with this for a long time and worked closely with the State Party to elaborate and implement the option that was proposed in the high-level reactive monitoring mission and has been supported in subsequent decisions taken by the World Heritage Committee. And beyond that, we take care to evaluate every nomination on its merits, and that is what we have done in this case. So I hope that that's clear. I do acknowledge that it's a very complex case that has many background steps which make it hard to fully appreciate as we bring the case to you today. And we are here at your disposal if needed any further.
Thank you. I see that there are no more questions or comments. I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 46 COM 8B.29, but before doing so, I would like to ask the rapporteur if he has received any amendments on the draft decision proposed.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous n'avons pas reçu d'amendement concernant le projet de décision pour l'inscription de la route transismique coloniale du Panama. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Are there any comments? I see none. I therefore declare draft decision 46 COM 8B.29 adopted. Thank you very much. Let me congratulate Panama on behalf of the entire committee for the inscription of this property. Panama, you have raised your plate, but I was going to give you 4 minutes as it is. You have the floor.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, señor presidente. La delegación de Panamá agradece el apoyo del comité y de los órganos asesores en la evaluación de la nominación de la ruta colonial transísmica de Panamá. Al aceptar la decisión de este honorable comité, recordamos que ya llevamos 10 años en este proceso y como reza un viejo refrán, quien espera lo mucho, espera lo poco. En aras de lograr una gobernanza coherente con el valor universal excepcional de la propiedad, nos interesa aprovechar la oportunidad que nos da este proceso de referimiento o de evolución para reforzar el expediente. Nos comprometemos, como dijimos en nuestra intervención hace un par de días, en la evaluación de los sitios que están en la lista de patrimonio en peligro, nos comprometemos a cumplir con las recomendaciones emitidas y avanzar de acuerdo a lo indicado, siguiendo las directrices prácticas y la normativa nacional vigente, a fin de retornar el expediente para su aprobación, esperamos, en la próxima sesión de este honorable Comité del Patrimonio Mundial. Queremos decir que no estamos del todo de acuerdo con la apreciación de ICOMOS sobre el criterio 6. Sin embargo, trabajaremos en conjunto con el órgano asesor y con el Comité del Patrimonio Mundial para hacer lo posible y mejorar, subsanar y generar un expediente que cumpla las expectativas, como bien ha señalado el delegado de Argentina. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. I would now give the floor to Mr. Lazar to make some announcements, and then I will be adjourning the meeting. Mr. Lazar, you have the floor. Lebanon? No. Yes, Mr. Lazar, you have the floor.
Oui, pardon.
Lebanon, the practice is we have given the floor to the state party, but you are a committee member, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Je voudrais simplement d'abord féliciter l'État du Panama pour avoir accepté la recommandation de l'ICOMOS de référer le dossier à l'État partie. On a de moins en moins des exemples où les États acceptent cette situation-là. De plus en plus, lorsqu'il y a des recommandations de référé, les États font le forcing pour avoir l'inscription. Je voudrais donc souligner réellement le professionnalisme de la délégation du Panama qui a accepté la solution de référé, parce que réellement, ça va permettre de faire évoluer la nomination et d'avoir une nomination extrêmement en très bon état et qui permettra de pouvoir conserver le bien à l'avenir sans problème. Merci.
Tomorrow.
I give the floor to the director of the WHC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I just want to, since everyone is here in the room, because as you have seen, the order of the presentation has been, we have been trying to adapt it constantly, and I really would like to thank all the state parties who have been really flexible, given that we are advancing well. So just for your information, then we will update on the website the table of presentation for tomorrow. But I just want to inform the room that tomorrow we will start when we resume here with Japan, followed by China, Beijing Central Axis. Japan will be Sado Island Gold Mines, and then we'll have Thailand, Phufrabat Historical Park, and we'll have also the site of the Russian Federation, the Testament of Kenozero Lake, and we'll also have sites from Kenya, the historic town and archaeological sites of Gedi, and a site from South Africa, human rights, liberation, and reconciliation. So this is for tomorrow morning. As we will go, we will continue to informing you. So we will update the remaining program on our website immediately after this session. I also would like to inform you of the two side events to take place this evening. The first side event is organized by the Archaeological Survey of India, entitled Culture Follows Commerce, Historical Interactions Across the Eastern Indian Ocean. And it will be in a room MR19 starting from 6 p.m. And the second side event is co-organized by IUCN, ICOMOS, and UNESCO, and is entitled enhancing World Heritage, exploring the potential of preliminary assessment process for World Heritage nominations. And this side event will also start at 6 p.m. in room MR17. It's the advisory body's space. And I also would like just to say in any way that, and I'll give it to the chair, but I think I'm fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lazar. And with this, we're going to come to the end of today's session, but let me remind that the Bureau meeting will happen tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. So once you have your wonderful breakfast, it's my face you're going to see the first. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. This session is adjourned.